Hello, this is Stockfather, and this is for education, entertainment purposes only. So, uh, take that for whatever it's worth. That was my entertainment part. Me laughing at myself. Anyway, uh, AMC, boy. So this was as soon as we got here, um, I had marked up the chart to track AMC, and it didn't do anything like I expected it to. Been on this upward accumulation thing ever since, and I have a few theories that rock around in my head that why it's that way, and then a mm, few other things. But anyway, this might be a long video. I don't know how to chapter it, so forgive me, but you might get something out of it. First, let's start with today. How did I know we were going to do a distribution besides this crazy volume at the end? Uh, well, uh, it's your typical, this is a very typical distribution pattern. It comes in, stretched out or really thin. Could be like what you'd be looking at a top. It always starts with how the first run up, which this one here, magically happens in after hours, so you don't get to watch the run up. But always, after it hits the top, comes all the way back down, and then it kind of like makes this push like it's going to go back up, and it comes back down to usually wherever the bottom was before, and then it comes up and always makes uh, two tops. In this case, kind of loppy tops, but always makes two tops where it's depending on how much it's selling off. And then it has a rounded off end, and then it does a LPSY, and then this is the point where it could catch or not catch, and take extended hours with a grain of salt if you want, but it looks to me like it kind of went crazy. Now there is earnings and everything, and we're currently at 1666. Uh, but and it could come back, all the way before morning, but could fall too. Uh, but going, I don't want to get off track here. Let's stick to the first thing first. Uh, so, how did I know this was a distribution pattern? Like I just said, like, how can you notice this every time? The first thing is that if you notice the first move always retracts to catch itself, it's a pretty good sign. And it's it's common. How common? Let me see. All right. We'll go we'll go back in that time. If we look at this top here, uh, we have this run. If you look right next to it, see if we can zoom in as much as we can on this, because I don't want to waste too much time with this. But if you look really close, this last run, it retraced all the way back down, and then came up like it was going to keep going up, came back down, came close to the bottom. This one a little higher, came up, did a double top, did a rounded in, came down, and then at this point, it makes an LPSY. And this is the point right here where it can catch and go up, or it can catch or not catch and go down and do another LPSY and then ultimately draw. So this one caught, but this was a distribution at the top here, and this was an LPSY. It just happened to catch in the place that it could catch. Now, interesting enough, when you look at the full top picture, it came down, went up, it took back its whole move from where it started, and it came down here, and then it tried to go up, and then it caught itself again, then came up, made two weird kind of highs. This one's like this peak is a little bit odder than this one. Then it came off, had the rounded in, came to just this thing, the LPSY, but this time it didn't catch, and it broke down and went down to another LPSY that could have kept going down but didn't. It caught, there was some after hours shenanigan things here, and turned into its own end of distribution pattern where it had a UTAD that came up and finished its distribution off here. So it was like one little hurrah for them at the end of this whole distribution thing. The UTAD stands for up thrusted, the end of distribution. So, um, so then we came down to what I believe was the selling climax. And the more I've looked at this, and because we've had this upward channel, and it's totally bizarre for AMC. There's been a lot of things that bewildered me. Still do. I marked this 18 line. I know it's weird that it's going back this far right now, but I had marked it during this phase because I noticed they were doing a lot of buying here, and I thought that was curious, especially after we sold off, so I made sure to mark it. This is way back in time. So the one weird thing that I noticed today, because because of our after hours, was that I may have something mismarked. Maybe the after hours counted. Sometimes they count, sometimes they don't count. It's hard to tell when to do it. But if you see that I've been looking at 116 for quite a while now as the top, and it might, it's actually where we are right currently now. It may be here at 166. That's kind of important. That could change quite a few things. The automatic reaction too, I have it here. I could have had it mismarked. It could actually have been the very first automatic reaction, and this would have just been part of the straight test. So, in this case, everything's kind of fine. Everything's like in a normal Wyckoff accumulation without a spring, where it kind of breaks up. I mean, but the weird thing is this would have been there's a lot of weird things here. It normally doesn't pop through this many times, but it's okay as long as it doesn't pop through both and come back through. So technically, it's not an issue. And then we have our sign of strength, which mark it as SOS. Sign of strength just lets you know that it's probably going to go up. Now, in most cases, your sign of strength is followed by a BU. And I'm hoping that I didn't keep the website open, but which that figures. But I'll look it up again if I can in time. Just to I put it on our I posted it in our Discord, but sometimes people read stuff, sometimes they don't. I just copy pasted in there. The last time, um, so um, sometimes after a sign of strength, you have another LPSY, which is kind of interesting. Um, uh, the thing is like it normally doesn't. The next, this BU thing. Basically, it can be just bounce off and come back up, or it can be its own little range and then takes off. But usually, this part here doesn't go higher than the sign of strength. Not in distribution, not in accumulation, neither one. But I'm going to say because of earnings, somehow we got messed up here. There's a possibility. And so, like, people have been waiting for, because 1611 is during normal hours, is down here. I've been waiting for it to go back through uh, to go down and then come back up and retest 1611. Well, maybe it's going to go, maybe wherever it starts the day, it's going to come up, or maybe it can go sideways even for the day. But maybe it's going to, the thing it's going to test is 1666. So I want to keep that kind of in mind. The other weird thing, this is a complete oddity, is that I, here, let me go ahead and put these in the same group, and we'll save that for a holiday special someday. That I hadn't been looking at the whole picture. Like when I described when this came down, that this finished the distribution, and this should have been another LPSY that brought it down more, instead it did this. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this was actually the end of the distribution, because it did have the two LPSYs. Had this LPSY and this LPSY, and then this could have easily been the end of the distribution, and then this whole thing here could be another pattern. And I know a lot of white coffeeans that would see that would go, oh, so then you have this major upthrust. So basically, you're either going to have a U-tat or it's just going to round off and go down. Yeah, you can make that type of argument, sure, but it also resembles a double bottom. I don't think I have a double bottom handy to show. But essentially, it pretty much does this. It comes down into a range. I'll kind of draw on it and kind of show you. So it comes down into a range. Then it does this movement of the range, and in the middle it has a big upthrust, and then on the other side it kind of does a spring part and then it kind of mimics what it did on the other side before taking off, right? Now it doesn't, it's just a schematic of how it works, but um, it's one of the things that could be happening. So, uh, why isn't the whole thing like distribution? Well, we had a lot of buying here. We've had a lot of buying here. Uh, this whole thing has been very cumulative looking. Um, uh, and I may have drawn this a little early where it would take off, but uh, or nothing says that they have to be the same length. Um, there's been examples in our chart when this has happened, but I just don't feel like going through and finding them. So with the sign of strength, you usually have a pullback that stays above the so I guess our rainy days back. It comes back. So there's a lot of weird things in here. The BUs, probably one of them. But so I was saying about 1550 in a video because I was trying to mark the midpoint, kind of like from here and where the SOS was, but more or less it looks like it's roughly around still around 1550, probably somewhere in there of when it pulls back. Now the funny thing is this one went over, so it's kind of hard to tell if it'll pull all the way back or if might come to $15. Might start the day completely even and run. A lot of things are on the table right now, so I don't want to jump to too many conclusions. But for me, I'm still sticking with the 1611 because I think those count the most. Um, everything's still valid as long as I keep my automatic reaction marked here. It's not bad at all. It's actually right on target. So, except this thing being higher than my first sign of strength, which just maybe an earnings abnormality. So, what I expect is this to go down, stay kind of sideways tomorrow, being Friday, and then we come up and we either retest 1611 or 1666, and Monday we just go. Now the count that I have is between we'll just zigzag everywhere, I guess, because I can't get it to stop. The count that I have, point figure goes anywhere from 24 to 24 to 39. These green areas here, this part here, need not exist. This part's done is pretty much what that's saying, but there is a liquidity zone here. It's a pretty big deal that we haven't traded there, but it doesn't mean we can't go over it and come back down into it, which is the typical way that you would accumulate. Accumulations usually start from an up or a down into an accumulation and then up and out again. So, um, I mean, almost technically, uh, that's kind of taken care of. It's really not too big a spot there, and there's one above it that's up here. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll start two areas of where one's going to be a top and a bottom probably for the reaccumulation before pushing up, and that's completely normal. But I think Monday is the run. That's what I've been calling for. everything's kind of stayed on target. It's it's right on where it would be after hours. Um, and if you count it after hours, we actually did go below it. So technically, we'd only have to go back above it and take off. But like I said, I really don't put much into after hours. Uh, I found in the past, sometimes it serves me, sometimes it's most of the time it's just a pain in the ask any questions you want. But so tomorrow, expect a gap, which kind of be nice because that lets you know it's probably going to go back up. But more of a sideways thing. It could start low enough where, like, if it starts at, I don't know, anywhere in the 15s or lower, like anywhere in the 15s or lower. Let's just say it starts the day at 15.13. I'm just hypothetical. We'll have a pretty huge gap, right? And it could, in theory, go up. Why it's going up, retest the 1611, but keep going tomorrow and end the day back up here at this top and be ready to take off from here. There's nothing that prevents that from happening, sealing the gap up right at the beginning of the day. So keep that in mind. It could happen fast if we start the day low, just because we dropped a lot in extended hours doesn't mean we're not going to wake up and gain all $2 back. Was a lot of volume after hours. Seems like they brought it up, sold it off some. I don't think they were buying. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe they're buying. We start the day close to like where we started off. I would assume we're probably going to go up. So keep that in mind. Maybe they counted everything after hours and it's done. But this was the top. It and after hours already came up and retested this, and it's ready to go, and it'll move back up to where it started, and then it'll just look like it took off, and everything that it was had to do was in after hours. But I kind of think with earnings, they like to, I don't know, they'll like to post something in the morning where after earnings call, AMC falls 20% or whatever, and keep it kind of sideways for the day, keeps eyes off of it until it's too late and we're off running, and Monday we're just heading for the moon, somewhere between 24 and 35. Now, can it take longer than that? Sure. Everything has been very drawn out. It's very large in comparison. Usually after this sign of strength, um, it goes back down. It doesn't take this long to get to the sign of strength because it's usually coming from a spring and goes right up into it. So the gradualness of this is weird. This BU, last point of supply. I expected the volume to be higher. It's not quite that high. So perhaps this next thing down here will be the grasp for volume. So if we see a lot of volume with sideways movement, that could be part of it. There's just so much that it could be, but I don't see it going down. So the fear factor is that, they're getting people to bet the wrong way right at earnings because you got such good news and then they're bringing it down. And they could draw it out like this for like a week and then run it up. So they'll get too quick on making your calls. If anything, maybe the smartest play would be to wait till it started going up and did that retest of 16 uh, 11 and or, yeah, 1611 I think it was, and then takes off or starts to go up because I give you ample time to buy shares between a strike price between 24 and 39, whatever. What's your whistle? And you take a lot of guessing on what it's going to do out of it. Now, of course, um, the further out when that happens that you uh, place your option, the more likely you are to hit it. But the closer to the end you are, the more the risk, and of course, more the reward. They're cheaper, and so on. If you're even going to do calls, if you're not going to do calls, uh, if you're a shareholder, please watch the previous video I had about how you can make money on this next run. Even if you're just sitting there holding shares right now, you may still have time. It'd be cutting it close if you haven't got tier 2 stuff set up. But gosh, this might have been my most unentertaining video yet. If you, I just for one last thing, just to kind of show you that we ended the day kind of like where it could have gone either way, because as we know, it plays out that distribution pattern. You can go either way, but sure looked like distribution was going to happen to me, and I'll just take a common bars pattern. You know how us fractal people do this. It's us fractal people. Okay, so I'm going to take this. We're going to hide all the other stuff that isn't needed. I'm going to make it really big because today was really big. No, it was really small. Come on, man. Come on. Get with it. Get with it. And for the 30 people that watch this, thank you so much. I hope you end up making a ton of money. Personally, my calls are going to be for next week, next Monday. I believe that's when we're going to run. Make your own choices on that. I can't make financial advice. If you have the money to go further out, definitely do it. There is also the possibility that it's just complete distribution, and you know, it's funny how cramped up these things can be. But oh, let's just look at it closer. Sorry. Uh, so, um, come on. Am I just not moving it, or is it just gonna trick? I don't know why it's not letting me do anything. It won't let me move it. Okay, bars pattern. Move. 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 Yeah, I can change the color of it. Can't make it move. I can change the color. What did I do? Lock it? It's not locked. Oh my goodness. Anyway. For yes, sorry, my wife's going to interrupt the last part of my video. So, and the baby too. It's not working, and I don't want to end the video with it not being able to show you this last part. Why is it locked? It's not locked here. Okay. Let's try changing it. Still move. It won't move. It's like locked on my pattern, and it's not locked. It's not locked. Yeah, bring it to the front. Uh, Lock it, unlock it. Don't move at all. Okay, fine. I can't get it to move. Uh, I'll just I'll just point it out, the similarities, even though I wanted it to match it up perfectly. Um, this one went up. This came all the way back down. It tried to come up. It caught here, just like this part did. It climbed up this mountain. Wow, these mountains look the same. It has this. It has this. It has the rounding effect. It has the rounding effect. And right here, it makes the place where it has the choice whether it'll go up or down. In the last case, it chose to go down. Um, and if I could shrink this and make this work out just right, I didn't even, this was just where it started to go down, right? So um, if we, maybe if I put extended hours, it'll let me move it. Aha, it doesn't. But anyway, um, so in after hours, you can kind of see this thing here resembles this thing here. And so it's coming down, and it come this far already. So it's probably going to makes one more of these where it'll go down. And so I expect to start the day maybe around the 1550 mark. Man, that took me forever to get there. Sorry if it took me so long. I appreciate all you guys. You guys are lovely. What a great community. Love Booksy's videos. Congratulate our new TA guys. I know I haven't been throwing enough credit their way, but I've been looking at their stuff. It's been pretty neat. And I don't know what to say. You guys are just, the best. Just the best. And yeah, what else can you say? Like somebody, uh, somebody's the best. Yeah, you're just the best. So on that, don't be worried if we start low. The gaps like to get filled. Remember that. Best time to buy calls. If you want certain calls, buy them around the money. Buy them like, if we start the day at 1550, buy calls at 1550. It's going to fill that gap. Buy it a month out, 1550. It's going to at least fill the gap. It's going to fill the gap. It always fills the gap. So, might be one of the, you know, best ways you can make money for certain. And it can keep going, but you won't care because your calls are at 1550. But anyway, that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this. I didn't. Get you on the flip side. Get you on the flip side.